that Wallace had suffered a life-threatening heart incident because of the stress caused by attempts to serve the Rule 202 petition. The It Ends With Us saga is not for the faint of heart.
I have multiple people who have been hospitalized due to the stress of daring to work with this.
Blake Lively's legal battle just took a chilling turn. A man she sued reportedly suffered a life-threatening heart incident, fueled by the stress of being served legal papers. This isn't just a lawsuit, it's a medical emergency tied directly to the conflict. The It Ends With Us saga, it seems, is a warning. As individuals have been hospitalized from the intense pressure, the stakes just became terrifyingly personal for everyone involved.
I feel sympathy. My personal view is I feel sympathy for Jed Wallace on what I know thus far.
This crisis centers around Jed Wallace, a PR executive with deep ties to Wayfair Studios. Blake's team branded Wallace a key player in alleged retaliation, but his true significance runs deeper. Wallace had crucial insider information, challenging Blake's narrative. He exposed a complex web of connections and conflicting loyalties that threatened to unravel her public stance. This insider knowledge proved critical.
Wallace, he, according to the potty-trained princess, is a key player in the retaliation campaign against her.
Wallace wasn't merely connected, he accessed fallout and private missteps at JonesWorks PR, the firm at the storm's eye. This wasn't gossip, he understood the exact timeline, knew specific comments, and critically how Blake's public narrative diverged from reality. His knowledge made him a massive problem for Blake's defense. This insider view set the stage for a dramatic clash, threatening to expose much more.
Has repeatedly denied any retaliation, any smear campaign, and a perceived astroturfing is all organic, truly, because people can make up their own minds based on everything that the plantation princess has said and done.
Recognizing Wallace's immense risk, Blake's legal team swiftly moved to discredit him. Instead of addressing his detailed information, they tried framing him as a rogue operator with a hidden agenda, driven by revenge. They dismissed him as disgruntled, hoping to contain damage. This strategy aimed to undermine his character, but Wallace's background proved too robust. The attempt to sideline him backfired spectacularly.
Lively's initial lawsuit, she did not include Jed Wallace. However, in the amended complaint, he was added alongside Baldoni.
Their attempts to frame Wallace as unreliable crumbled. His employment history, contract dates, and recorded projects were all on record, making his credibility nearly impossible to dismantle. He wasn't a shadow figure, he was a verifiable professional. More strikingly, Wallace didn't wait. He filed his own lawsuit against Blake first in Texas. This preemptive move immediately shifted the dynamic, turning him into an active challenger. The legal game had fundamentally changed.
50-year-old alleges that Jed Wallace, who lives and works in Texas, is the person most responsible for the astroturfing against her, which has hurt not just the burgeoning baker, but also Blakey Crocker's family and her business.
Blake's team then faced real panic. If Wallace's account proved accurate, she risked losing everything she struggled to protect. Her claim of being a smear campaign victim would instantly crumble. Wallace's credibility was too solid for mere attacks. Dismantling actual evidence was necessary, a challenge Blake's team was unprepared for. This wasn't about public perception, it was about her case's legal foundations, poised on the brink. A sworn statement would soon deliver a bombshell.
Wallace filed a lawsuit in Texas against her first. And now the Queen of Hearsay has filed a motion in Texas to be dismissed from Jed Wallace's lawsuit.
The situation escalated dramatically when Jed Wallace submitted a formal declaration under penalty of perjury. In California, this carries the same legal weight as court testimony. Lying isn't just unethical, it's a criminal offense, potentially leading to prison time. This enormous risk, taken by someone not a direct party to the main case, underscored the gravity. Wallace had everything to lose and nothing to gain by fabricating. This was a legal gauntlet, demanding serious attention.
Wallace evaded and obstructed Miss Lively's persistent efforts to seek information from him before filing this lawsuit in anticipation of becoming a party in the New York litigation.
Wallace's brief two-page declaration packed a legal bombshell. He detailed how Jones Works, the PR firm collaborating with Blake, manipulated the public relations timeline to align with Blake's version. Even more damaging, Wallace revealed direct retaliation and intimidation for refusing to participate in the alleged cover-up. The moment he declined to lie, Jones Works allegedly blacklisted him, and professional opportunities vanished. The repercussions for truth-telling were immediate and severe.
On January 23rd, Khaleesi, in her own mind, after trying to serve Wallace at his gated property, her process server received a text message from an associate of his lawyer, Brian Friedman.
Wallace's concise, direct, and legally devastating statement introduced two grave legal theories: witness tampering and wrongful retaliation. Witness tampering refers to attempts to intimidate or coerce truthful testimony. His allegations implied Blake's team pressured him to stay silent. If proven, this damages Blake's credibility and could trigger a criminal investigation. Wrongful retaliation under California Labor Code shields whistleblowers. These weren't minor claims, they were potential felony charges.
Wallace's counsel also indicated that Wallace had suffered a life-threatening heart incident because of the stress caused by attempts to serve the Rule 202 petition.
Intriguingly, Blake initially mentioned Jed Wallace in her first CRD complaint. However, when she copied content into her real lawsuit, she notably omitted Wallace's name concerning retaliation claims. This selective removal raises questions about her shifting narrative and potential awareness of Wallace's protected status. His declaration now falls directly under protected whistleblowing activities, reporting what he believed were illegal practices. This omission speaks volumes about the legal strategy.
And remember, this is how the Z-list actress operates.
Examining Blake's underlying motive paints a darker picture. Her legal action against Wallace wasn't merely about reputation. It appears a calculated attempt to silence a key witness before trial discovery, unearths more damaging information. Entangling Wallace complicated his ability to assist other cases against Jones Works, and by extension, Blake Lively. This strategic move aimed to neutralize a critical source of truth. The tactic, once exposed, would prove damning.
After engaging in a retaliatory social media campaign against Miss Lively, plaintiffs now seek to drag her into a foreign court that lacks jurisdiction in an attempt to further punish her for privileged communication.
Blake's strategy holds a striking irony. Her lawsuit mirrored tactics corporations use against whistleblowers, filing to intimidate, discredit, and financially drain them. This is textbook retaliatory litigation, taken seriously by courts. Rather than silencing Wallace, Blake's lawsuit risks anti-SLAPP motions under California law. These statutes protect individuals speaking on public interest, which Wallace's testimony addresses. This was a potential trap she had walked directly into.
Jed Wallace, he's lucky to be alive. The rest of her motion is pretty standard stuff. She made no specific defamatory statements against Jed Wallace, blah, blah, blah.
If Wallace's attorneys filed an anti-SLAPP motion, Blake's lawsuit could be dismissed early, potentially forcing her to cover all of Wallace's legal fees, hundreds of thousands. But repercussions don't stop there. If Wallace proves Blake filed her lawsuit solely because he spoke out, he could pursue double damages under the California Labor Code. Any financial harm could be automatically doubled, turning a costly case into a devastating one. The stakes escalated dramatically.
Tonight in Texas federal court, Blake Lively filed 802 pages in her attempt to dismiss Jed Wallace's lawsuit.
Beyond targeting Wallace personally, his testimony exposed a far larger scandal: the toxic workplace culture at Jones Works. For years, the firm maintained a polished facade, but Wallace's sworn statement corroborated what former employees alleged. The reality inside Jones Works was far from glamorous. His testimony supported claims of a toxic environment, contract breaches, and intimidation. This wasn't isolated, it was systemic. The facade was crumbling.
Somebody for something and you make allegations or claims about them in a court filing under penalty of perjury, it's very difficult to then use those claims as grounds for a defamation.
Wallace's declaration supplied the crucial missing link, detailing specific illegal practices within Jones Works. He described employees pressured to manipulate media narratives and suppress negative coverage of clients, particularly Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. This went beyond standard PR. It involved coach tactics to divert journalists. When prevention failed, Jones Works allegedly resorted to intimidation. This was a systematic suppression of truth, controlling public perception at any cost.
Frankly, off the bat, I think Jed Wallace has an extremely uphill battle.
If proven.
Internal communications revealed by Wallace uncovered a troubling practice. Stephanie Jones allegedly coached Blake on manipulating media coverage. This involved crafting a false narrative that positioned Blake as the victim, even when evidence suggested otherwise. Wallace's testimony eliminated any possibility for Blake to claim ignorance. His statement showed Blake was directly coached. Her plausible deniability was shattered, exposing a direct role. Ignorance was no longer a valid defense.
Lively filed a complaint of employment discrimination. Now, this was like a...
Under California law, willful ignorance isn't a valid defense. If Blake's team knowingly helped shape false narratives, it exposes them to potential charges of conspiracy, defamation, and other serious civil liabilities. Wallace's two-page declaration thoroughly destroyed any plausible deniability Blake might have claimed, painting a picture of deliberate, informed participation. This wasn't about being misled, it was about being allegedly complicit, transforming a PR crisis into a full-blown legal quagmire.
Blake mentioned Jed Wallace in that first CRD complaint, the one that wasn't really a lawsuit. But then whenever she copy and pasted a whole bunch of stuff into that real lawsuit, she did not copy and paste Jed Wallace or street relations.
Hidden within Wallace's statement were suggestions of a broader conspiracy, allegations that Blake's team, coordinating with Jones Works, interfered with witnesses in other lawsuits. This constitutes witness tampering, a knowing attempt to prevent truthful testimony. An overlooked detail is that Wallace's claims involve potentially tampered communications across state lines. This opens the door for federal agencies like the FBI to intervene, potentially leading to federal obstruction of justice charges. The scandal now had national implications.
Blake Lively messed over her own self by even so much as doing these interviews that she did, wearing the clothes that she did. Basically, she created this problem for her own self.
As Wallace's testimony unfolded, another key pillar of Blake's legal defense collapsed: her smear campaign narrative. Blake had claimed Justin Baldoni orchestrated efforts to harm her reputation. However, Wallace's affidavit completely destroyed that storyline. He confirmed Jones Works actively monitored press coverage of Blake and manipulated media narratives behind the scenes. This systematic manipulation shattered any pretense that Blake was merely a passive victim. The victim narrative was officially debunked, exposing a different reality.
Blake Lively absolutely did a lot of the stuff she's accused of doing. I do not like how she acts. I do not like how she behaves. I don't like how she treats people. And frankly, just as a side, I don't really like the clothes she picked out for that character. They was ugly. They were ugly clothes, okay?
Even more damaging was that Wallace had no direct stake in Wayfair's lawsuits. He wasn't employed by them and wasn't suing anyone. His involvement was purely ethical, submitting his declaration because he believed the conduct he witnessed was illegal and immoral. This independence made his statement incredibly credible. He had nothing to gain by supporting others and everything to lose. Without any personal vendetta, Blake's legal team had no convincing explanation. His neutrality was his greatest weapon.
Blake Lively filed a complaint. It went on to allege that his conduct included harassment, retaliation, failure to investigate, prevent, and/or remedy harassment, aiding and abetting harassment, and retaliation.
The legal nightmare is only one part. The bigger issue is the optics. Hollywood is highly sensitive to retaliation against whistleblowers, especially post-Me Too. If Blake is perceived as leveraging her wealth to punish a former PR insider for speaking truth, she risks alienating the industry that once protected her image. Powerful agencies and insiders might distance themselves, unwilling to be entangled. Her cultivated persona could be irrevocably damaged. Public opinion is a merciless judge.
For harassment. He's saying, I did not harass her. I did not retaliate against her. I never entered into any contracts with Blake Lively, so I had no contractual obligation to.
The irony is harsh. In trying to silence Jed Wallace, Blake risks exposing even deeper layers of PR manipulation, witness intimidation, and internal misconduct. By suing Wallace, she inadvertently opens the door, allowing his attorneys to subpoena internal communications and reveal conversations she never intended public. Rather than containing fallout, Blake's lawsuit could unleash the entire scandal, drawing in new witnesses and potentially federal investigators. The consequences would be devastating.
Jed Wallace and Street Relations Inc. in the not really a lawsuit complaint. But when she went to file the real lawsuit,
Jed Wallace's 2-page declaration wasn't merely a nuisance for Blake Lively, it was a legal minefield. It's capable of triggering cascading lawsuits, contract voids, crippling civil penalties, and even criminal investigations, all originating from someone not a primary party. Blake's choice to sue Jed Wallace might well prove to be the single worst legal decision of her career, turning a contained issue into a sprawling, industry-shaking scandal. Was this a strategic move, or a catastrophic miscalculation? Only time and the courts will tell.